I'll start over. My name is Melissa Nelson. This is my husband, Mark. We live near Mobile, Iowa, which is about 15 minutes away from Sioux City, up in the northwest part of the state. We also have our dog with us today. This is Scout, and he helps us on the farm too. But we have a farm and beef cattle operation here near Mobile. We raise beef cattle that go to be the hamburgers and steaks and all the delicious beef products that we love to enjoy, and a lot of other things too. So we raise those here on our farm. Today we are right in the midst of calving season. We have how many calves on the ground right now? 15 calves. So we're right at the beginning. But we are going to show you a little bit about what calving season entails today. It's actually pretty cold for April 3rd, I would say. You can see I am kind of a baby, so I have coveralls and a big coat on. Mark is a little tougher than I am, so he's got a sweatshirt and jeans, but it's pretty cold and windy. We had a lot of ice last night and this morning, so everything has a thin layer of ice on it. But we are still trucking on because we have to make sure our cows are all taken care of. So I'm going to pass this over to Mark, and I'm going to hand him the microphone. Okay.
Can everybody hear me?
I think we're good. Okay, so I'll flip the camera around. Okay, Mark, why don't you tell them what we're looking at?
Well, you can see the cows kind of huddled up there behind those gray panels, those gray sheets. We call that windbreak, and we put those up to stop the wind, to stop the snow, to give them a place where they could be protected from the weather and natural elements. So last night the wind was and rain were out of the northwest, so they were very protected up there behind those panels. And you can kind of see the yellow stuff on the ground that they're laying on. Those are called corn stalks, and when we harvest our corn in the fall, you can kind of see how the ground is yellow there. That's the residue, that's the stubble that's left from the corn plant being grown, and we make them into bales, which you can kind of see up the hill there. We make those, and those are called corn stalk bales, and we use the corn stalks in kind of two ways. We either feed them to the cows, and we use them for bedding. So what they're all standing there, some of them are laying down, they're laying on the bedding. And what corn stalks do is they're kind of like a carpet or like a mattress, if you think about it. It's comfy for them to lay on. It's soft, and it absorbs a lot of moisture, so it keeps them dry. It helps keep their hair fluffy and shiny and dry, and so that's kind of their comfort zone where they are right now. They got a comfy place to lay and a dry place to lay, and they're out of the cold wind today. So they're having a great day so far. So
Mark, why don't you tell them, we see a lot of different colors of the cows.
Yep. Yeah, so if you look out here, what do you see? You probably see some solid black cows. You see some red cows. You see some red cows with white faces. There's kind of a lot of breeds represented in this small group here. The black ones are called Angus. That's a breed. The red and white ones, there's a couple of them looking at us here, are Herefords. And then we have some solid red ones that are red Angus. And then there's a few others that are kind of a mix. But we primarily have what we call baldies. Baldies have white faces, and they'll usually be a solid color, so black or red with a white face. That's what we try to raise here. And so you can kind of see a lot of different colors out there. These are kind of the tamest of the bunch, so they don't really care that we're out here doing anything. They're just wondering when the food truck's going to come. So.
Okay, so you mentioned the food truck. Talk about how we feed them in the afternoon, and I can show them the bunks over here.
Yeah. So you see these bunks, these red posts that Melissa's pointing out. Those are made of concrete. And in the afternoon, I get the feed wagon out, which is a big wagon that mixes. It tumbles ingredients together, kind of like think of your mixer on your kitchen counter. It's kind of like that, but on a large scale. And we have lots of ingredients that get mixed together to make their meal every day, so they get a nice balanced diet. They get lots of proteins and minerals and energy to keep them in optimum health and happy, and and I feed them every afternoon about 5 o'clock. So they and then they eat and they eat and they eat, and then they rest, and that's kind of the life of a cow.
Why do we feed them at 5?
So there's been some research done that shows that if you can feed your cows on a routine at night, that they won't have any calves overnight, that they'll wait till the next morning to have their babies. So baby cows are called calves. So that's why we say we're calving, as we're having baby cows. So we feed every night, so then that way we can avoid having a calf at night. That allows me to get some sleep, allows the vets to get some sleep, and then they can have their calves in the middle of the day where the sun's out. It's usually warmer and just nicer for everybody to have them be born during the day. So that's why we feed at night. We're kind of on a strict schedule, and it works extremely well. We've probably done this 15 to 20 years, somewhere in there. So it's worked really well.
Okay, so let's say a cow has a calf out here during the day. What happens next?
So the cow will have a calf, and the first thing that when the calf hits the ground, the first thing the calf wants to do is to get up. That's its natural instinct, is to stand, and its instincts will tell it that it wants to nurse. It wants to get some milk from mom. So it's important for us to make sure that that happens, that the baby can get up and nurse on his mom and get that milk. The first milk is really important because it's packed full of fat and proteins and nutrients and antibodies that the calf really needs to survive its first couple days out here in nature. So then once that's kind of accomplished, we get the cows and calves in. We try to pen them up together by themselves so that nobody else can interfere with their relationship as it's beginning, and we try to get them in a barn. You can kind of see this barn that's behind us here. We'll go in there in a second, but we try to get them in out of the weather, even if it's a nice day, just to take any weather stress out, and just to give them really that opportunity to bond and for the calf and mom to get everything figured out. And we found that it makes for very healthy calves long term if we can really get that good relationship established.
Okay, so let's walk around. Like Mark said, once they have a calf out here, if we haven't gotten them in the night before, sometimes we can tell when the cow is going to have a baby. She's showing some signs of labor, that she's going to have a baby, and so sometimes we get them in early, and they can calve closer to the barn or inside even. So if we don't get them in and they calve out here, we go this way. So we'll kind of walk the trail that we take the cows and calves.
Yeah, the cows can definitely show signs that they are getting close to having a baby. Same with a human. There's signs that they show as they're getting ready to have a baby, and so we can watch closely and kind of monitor those mama cows, and we can see when they're feeling like they're going to have a new baby, and we can be proactive and get them in and give them their own space and a dry place to be, so that they can have that calf and have the best chance of success of having a healthy baby as we can, because that's ultimately what we want. Is we want a live and healthy baby calf. That's what we're in business for. So we're going to go in the barn here, and we're going to look at a calf that we had just this morning. So you can see this red white-faced cow. So she's a Hereford. That would be her genetics. And if you look over there on the yellow bedding, there's a black calf with a white face. The mom's licking it there. That calf was just born this morning, and they're doing really good. And we're just keeping an eye on them. They'll be here probably till tomorrow morning, and then we'll, if everything's good, we'll move them down to another pen with some other cows and calves, where the calves can kind of commingle and make friends and run around, but they still have a place where they can go inside and stay dry and stay warm, and where their moms can keep a close eye on them. So,
what questions do you guys have? Go ahead and type those into the comment box, and we'll try to get those answered. And you can see Scout really wants inside, but Mama Cow isn't too sure about having a puppy in here right now with her new baby, so he's going to have to stay out. But let us know if you have questions. Mark, maybe talk about the tag in the cow's ear.
So do you see these? They're kind of square. These yellow squares that hang down from her ears. Those are not earrings. We call those ear tags. And on the tag, there's a number. So on this one, it's 3226. We use the numbers to identify certain characteristics about the cow. So for example, the first number on our tags represents the year that she was born. So since it's a 3, she would have been born in 2013. So that means that she's 7 years old. And so we use numbers like that to give us an idea of just some general information that we can understand about the cow. On our farm, what we do that we've started doing the last couple of years that we really like is you have, just like there's boys and girls with calves, you have heifers and bulls. And so what we do is we'll tag the heifers, which are girls, with yellow tags, just like this mama cow here has a yellow tag. But we tag the bulls, the boy calves, with red tags. And so that helps us identify even more if we're looking for a calf that's lost or for a calf that's maybe sick or injured. We know that if we see a red tag that we're dealing with the bull calf, that helps us to easily find the mom or pair them back up or whatever. So that's what the tags are for, is just kind of helping us identify the age and sex and that sort of thing for the female or for the animal.
One thing that you guys might be interested to know is we also use Google Drive, like you might use for school. You might use Google Documents or Google Sheets. We use Google Sheets for all of this information. We track any information that we can about these cows and calves so that Mark or his brother or his dad can all log in on their own phones and see all that information at any given time. And so that's really helped us a lot, but that might be something like you use in your very own classroom. Okay, so we have a question. They want to know, what are the calves laying on in here?
Okay, so this is yellow stuff that kind of looks like the corn stalks out there, but this is called straw. This is oat straw. So there's a crop called oats. Maybe you've heard of a food called oatmeal. We use oats for a lot of different things, but oats, when they grow and they mature and they're ready to harvest, their stems they're very fat, they get very dry, and they're pretty long, and so we can go back and cut that and we can bale it to make straw. And straw is great because it has the ability to take on a lot of moisture because it's so dry, and it can keep a place very dry for a long time. Plus it's a nice comfortable thing to lay on, and it's warm. And so a lot of times straw is baled into small square bales that weigh 30-40 pounds, and so I can easily handle those for tight places like in barns and that kind of stuff. So straw is pretty common in a lot of barns or trailers, little tighter areas where a big giant round bale wouldn't fit very good. We use these straw bales. So that's a good question.
Okay, we knew we would get this question. They want to know, is it a heifer or a bull calf?
To be honest, I don't know. I got them in this morning, and I have not looked. I think that it's a girl, but I try not to mess with them right away. I try to let the mom and baby kind of have their time together, and so either later today or first thing tomorrow when I go to tag it, then I'll find out if it's a boy or a girl. But I'm thinking that it's probably a girl.
Okay, one other question, Mark. What information do you track when we put all this in our records? What are we writing down?
So what we want to know is we want to know the age of the cows, especially down the road. Cows, like anything, kind of have a useful life, and so once they get so old, they have higher risks of maybe having a failed pregnancy or maybe getting sick or getting injured, and so we want to know the age of the cow. And then as far as the other stuff, so when I go to tag him tomorrow, I'll weigh him to see her to see how much they weighed, and we will use the weight probably more so than anything the rest of the way through to see how fast that calf grows, what its genetic makeup is like, if it's good, if it's bad, and if it's, let's say that this calf is in fact a girl, if it's a heifer. If we get down the road and it just isn't gaining very good, it isn't putting weight on, it's not growing as fast as we like, then that's a female that we don't want to have in our herd, because we want cattle that are efficient and will grow fast, and not ones that are maybe just a little slower. And so those will end up going to like a feed yard to get fed out for making our steaks and hamburgers and that sort of thing. So that's kind of the information that we are looking for, is just wanting to know the age and the growth, so we can track that the whole way through.
Okay.
Good question.
One question. When selecting breeds and genetics, what are your major considerations? And they mentioned meat quality, motherability. Maybe talk about motherability a little bit.
So every breed has certain characteristics that are great and important, but are maybe certain breeds only are good at certain characteristics. And so, for instance, when we talk about Angus cattle, we know Angus, when we go to the store, a lot of times we see certified Angus beef when we buy a steak or a hamburger. And Angus are known for excellent meat quality, carcass quality, the ability to eat feed and put on weight and grow. And so we like Angus cattle for carcass quality. When you get to Herefords, like this cow is here, what Herefords are famous for are for being very tame. We call that docile. And so Herefords are very kind of low maintenance. They're also known for being very feed efficient. And what feed efficiency is if I eat 5 pounds of food and I gain 2 pounds, versus if I ate 5 pounds of food and I gained 1 pound, the one that gained 2 was more efficient. And so Herefords, in a lot of ways, are more efficient of turning feed that they eat into energy or body weight. And so those are kind of characteristics known to them. What we like with our cows is for them to be tame and gentle, and so that anyone can come out and work with them. And that's what we've really kind of liked about the Herefords, and why we've started to breed some of that in, is to have some nice tame mama cows that everybody can come and anybody could come and work with, and not feel threatened or worried. But there's lots of other breeds out there. I mentioned Red Angus, there's Charolais, there's Simmental. All of them have their unique characteristics that are good things that they bring to the table. And so it's really kind of up to the cattlemen to decide what fits their operation the best as far as what they want to breed. Here we try to have a good crossbred program to try to utilize all, as many good characteristics as we can. But every rancher is different, and they're going to have different needs or systems, and so that's why we just examine all the breeds and animals as closely as we can. Good question.
Okay, one question. What do you use to weigh the calf? That's a good one.
So there's a lot of ways, or there's a couple ways you can do it. One is with a scale. So just like you'd have a bathroom scale at home, we have scales that we can weigh anything up to this big cow here. Scales can be kind of boxy and require electricity or something. So what I like to do is there is a tape that I use. It looks like a tape measure, or like a tape you'd use to measure your waist if you were sewing. And if you put that around their hoof and measure the diameter of their hoof, it gives us a pretty good indication of what the animal weighs. And I like to use the tape because then I don't have to carry the calf over to the scale and set him on a scale, or take him away from mom for a little bit. He can just stay right there, and I can wrap around his leg and get a measurement, and it's done in a matter of seconds. So that's what I use to weigh the calf. And that was a good question.
I think that was developed in Iowa State, too.
Yeah, it was. Yep, it was invented at Iowa State, and it's a pretty handy tool. So.
Okay, are there any last questions? We're going to kind of wrap up here if we don't get any typed in. You can see Mom is kind of tolerating us. She's still aware that we're here, but I'm sure she'd be a lot happier if we weren't. Okay. Okay, how do you use what you learned in school on the farm? And what subjects or skills do you use most?
Well, that's a really deep question. So when I was in school, I tried to study things that were my weakness rather than things that I really enjoyed. And so I ended up taking a lot of agronomy classes rather than animal science classes. And with agronomy, agronomy is the study of plants. And so how agronomy has really helped me is actually help manage my cows. I can better understand how to take care of our pastures, how to take care of our crops so that we can raise the best crops to feed them, the most efficient crops, the highest yielding crops. Also, how to just manage their diet with different, because cows eat lots of different grasses, different types of legumes, all kinds of things. And so I would say I use the agronomy portion quite a bit. But then as far as animal science, when you get to meet a lot of other producers and guys and gals that were at college with me who have herds that do different things, you pick up something, that's handy or kind of a life hack from everyone. Everyone's got little things that they do, and so it's always great to share that kind of information and learn something that can really just make your life easier. And then a lot of what I took too was a lot of finance and accounting and business management, and that's very important on the farm because the farm is a huge business, and it really is. And so we got to understand how to run it like a business. And so those are some things that I use all the time that I learned and studied at school. So that was a good question.
And when we think about what we learned in elementary school and how we use that on the farm, Mark just talked about how we use that tape measure to measure around their hoof to decide how much we think they weigh. So measuring, we use that. We use, the numbers. We talked about how we use a system to tag each cow, and each of them have a different number, and so using different patterns and numbers. But we use a lot of what we learned in school on the farm every day. Okay. So we just wanted to say thank you for joining us today. We had fun talking about what we do during it's at least my favorite time of the year. Probably, I think it's Mark's too.
Yep.
We love seeing new life on the farm and new babies, new baby calves every day. So thank you for joining us today and learning about that with us. If you do have other questions, if you're watching this later, continue typing them in and we'll get back and answer those questions when we are able to. So from Northwest Iowa, thank you for joining us on this Friday Farm Chat. And we hope you have a good rest of your day, and we hope that the weather turns warmer soon for all of you. So
thanks for joining us.